What is up, everybody, and welcome to another special episode of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by Mr. PSVG himself, Donnie Reece. What is up, Donnie? How are you doing, sir?
Greetings, Kooblings. What's up?
Of course, Kevin's going to hear this. He's going to be so mad that I used that and I said that, but
he is Mr. PSVG. Like, to be in all fairness.
In all fairness, he is. He bleeds the multicolor logo. I gotta say this before we jump into this. Number one, I know you got this fascination with Chucky. Creepy as hell sitting behind you right now. If the thing jumps on the back of your neck, I am totally just running out of the house and going to my mom's.
You're foreshadowing my geek out, Bobby.
Well, that's okay. Well, okay. And then the other thing is the last time I spoke to you, like this, it's been quite a while, probably like a year ago or so. But that being said, like, dude, the paintings and stuff, that Link painting is fantastic.
Oh, you like the canvas prints?
The canvas prints are amazing, dude. Like,
I appreciate that.
Last of Us, phenomenal. I guess that's Persona up directly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, that's Ann Takamaki.
Yeah.
I've got Last of Us, Splatoon. I've got Wind Waker. A lot of Life is Strange stuff. Mario Golf. I've got some Fire Emblem stuff.
I love it.
Corrin up there. I've got a lot of different things. The idea is to take over the whole wall.
Uh-huh.
So I have this website, and they run these really, really like ridiculous sales sometimes where I can get them for like $12, $13 a piece.
Wow.
And every time I see one of those sales, I always buy like 2 or 3 of them.
I don't blame you.
I just keep adding them to the wall.
That's
I actually have them on the other side of the wall of the basement and up the staircases. So as you come down to the basement, you just kind of like enter Donnie's gaming zone. It's a lot of Last of Us, it's a lot of Nintendo, and it's a lot of Life is Strange. But and you didn't see, I have the giant Smash Brothers Ultimate print. I actually have a huge big one, like a 3-foot print canvas of it taking up this entire wall right here.
Donnie, let me take you down a tale, right? This is a tale of experience. This road that you're going down, this leads to you being alone later on in life. So be careful, sir. Because
I've never really been into like knickknacks or pictures or frames or anything like that. So I think my wife is just happy that I'm trying to decorate at all. She's like, wait a minute, this is better than just plain walls, nothing on tables.
I will tell you this, that what you are doing is fantastic. Like, those pictures are gorgeous. So it's a different level. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that she can go like that is the one thing when I was married, that was the one thing that she did like. It wasn't like I just threw stuff all over the place.
Sure.
She was like, hey, you really take, like, I mean, you look behind me, like, I got the shelving.
Yeah, no, your Philips light system is something else.
That thing is just, it's expensive. That's what it is. It's not something else. It's very expensive.
My real obsession is wallpapers. I'm constantly, the amount of hours that I've wasted like looking at wallpapers and changing my desktop and my backgrounds on my Chromebooks and everything. Oh, I have like 700 wallpapers saved to my computer. I mean, it just depends on whatever I'm playing, whatever I'm feeling, like whatever I'm really into. I want to see it all the time. So I'm constantly changing, and I'll change different monitors. I have animated. So there's a thing on Steam called Wallpaper Engine. Okay. Where you can actually program like themes to your computer that animate and play music and stuff in the background. It's like $3, and for somebody like me, it's like the best $3 I've ever spent. I'm constantly changing. I take pictures and videos of them. I share them in the Discord. I mean, yeah. So I have an obsession with that. So that's kind of a part of it. It's kind of taking my favorites, printing them on something physical, and hanging them up so I see them all the time. And it brightens up the room. It's a lot of pretty colors. It's a lot of bright colors. So I like it.
I like it. I love it. Like, the minute the camera queued up, my eyes went right to Link.
Oh, and if you look over there, I've got the PSVG one that Miss Caroline from Nintendo Shack. She did that one.
I liked it.
And I was like, well, obviously, I've got to have that. I got to put that up there. Yeah.
But I saw it, and I was like, Link, beautiful. And then I look at Last of Us, and I'm like, oh, my God. Because Josh Stapleton, one time Josh messaged me, and he's like, what's your 4 favorite video games of all time? And I'm like, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Kid Icarus, Link to the Past, and Last of Us. And he made me coasters of each one.
Wow.
And I have a Last of Us coaster. Like, he took the game covers.
Isn't he like he and his brother are just the best.
Oh my
They're
God,
like such
amazing.
great, awesome people.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I'm like this guy. He texts me every single morning, and we discuss weight loss strategies.
Oh yeah, I saw your video.
We transfer. We take screenshots of what we tracked the day before, so we're kind of like you can't lie, you can't cheat.
Yeah,
like we're
accountability
buddies.
Like
the accountability's there, man. So it's pretty awesome.
My prized possession in gaming is my Last of Us American Dreams art book, like the comic book. Mm-hmm. I've got the hardbound copy that was a limited edition, and I have it signed by Nolan North, Troy Baker, and Neil Druckmann.
That's
and
amazing.
I just need Ashley's signature to complete it. I may or may not have looked up tickets to Denver because she was in a Comic-Con appearance there.
You're nuts. That's a bit much.
I didn't do it, but like she doesn't. She's very busy. You know, she's on her TV show and everything.
I mean, have you ever tried to reach out to her on Twitter?
Yeah. I think like once every other month or so, I'm like, hey, are you ever going to be in Charlotte, Miami, Atlanta, like anywhere near me? I'll drive. I'll be there.
Yeah. And she's like, this guy. No.
She's like, actually, we just canceled dates.
Yeah, she's like, she goes to her publicist, these places, get rid of them now.
But yeah, that's the one. I kind of stalk her Twitter page every now and again, just to see if she's ever going to make an appearance anywhere near me so I can complete it. But that'll be, once I do, I don't know what I'll do. I'll frame it or something. I got to put it in a glass case.
Yeah, I would too. Jesus. Holy cow. Okay, so we were talking about filling time. We're filling time. This is nothing of fear that I ever had with us. So listen, let's kick this episode off like we do each and every episode with Donnie's Geek Outs today. What are you excited about there, Donnie?
Dude, I am excited and geeking out for tomorrow. Tomorrow is such a great day for me. Number one, my friend Pedro hits the Switch.
Yes.
And I cannot wait to play it.
Yes.
I've had it pre-ordered forever. I keep retweeting all their stuff, so go play that game. But more importantly, or at least overshadowing that, tomorrow Child's Play launches in theaters.
Okay, so I didn't know anything about it till today, when I was like, man, why do I keep seeing? Because you look at the Twitter profile, it's a little picture. I'm like, who the heck is this kid sitting on Donnie's lap? And then I hit it, I was like, oh, why? Why, Donnie? What is wrong with you? So is this like obviously it's a reboot of sorts.
It is a reboot, and there's actually some drama there because Don Mancini, who wrote and directed and basically has, shepherded the series, he's not a part of this and hasn't greenlit it or approved it.
Oh, wow.
This is Orion, who published the first one, have the rights to Child's Play, not Chucky, but Child's Play.
Okay.
This is them kind of doing their own thing.
Oh.
So that already kind of puts the fan base at like odds. Like, do you support the guy who's always done it, or are you excited for this new thing? I'm kind of more in that latter group. I really love Child's Play. I liked the older horror slasher movies more than kind of the weird Seed of Chucky and everything that came out since then.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see somebody reboot it in a different way. And this one, the reviews aren't out yet. I'll be there at my first showing. My first showing tomorrow at my theater. The first showing is 6:45. I'll be there. Okay. I'm taking Chucky with me, by the way. He's going to come to the movies with me. But it's got a great cast, and a lot of the cast that did the interview said that they signed on to do it because of the script and how great the script was and how good the idea is. So the whole idea with the new Chucky is it's Chucky. His name's Chucky, but he's Alexa. He's Google Home. He's smart device. He can control your lights and cameras, and he can do things.
Oh, I don't like this already.
Oh, I like this a lot. This is good. I don't like
this at all, man. I am out. I will not. No, sir. Because listen, Phillips, Hughes, I got everything in my house. It's all.
I didn't even think about that. That'd be great. Man. Yeah, so like the whole idea is, it's not, it gets rid of the whole like witch doctor voodoo stuff, and it's more like, this doll is your best friend. Yeah. He's such your best friend that he hates it when you have other friends, and that makes him malfunction or something.
I don't like that.
I love it. So I have socks. I have Chucky socks. If you never knew, I'm very much a very big horror movie fan. Something my kids hate about me. I think my wife has kind of warmed up to me about it, but I've got countless amounts of DVDs and stuff. Every year we do a Halloween show. It's probably my favorite show of the year that we do on PSVG. And I have, as you see, I have a replica.
Yeah.
A movie replica prop Chucky doll. That's not some Walmart, eBay hot trash in the summer. That is very expensive. It's from the original mold, from the original movie, and it's a limited series. Yes.
Holy cow.
The shoes, the stitching, the clothes, everything.
How much did that cost?
So, I don't want to say.
Yeah, because you're like, if my wife watches it, she's the worst of me.
I don't want people to think bad things of me, man.
They already are now. Trust me.
Know that I'm concerned that I'm taking it out in public tomorrow. That's how much it costs. I'm concerned that I'm taking it with me to the theaters.
So real quick to touch on what you were saying. When I was setting the lights up, right? I got the lights all set up, and Rybo and I were trying to configure the lighting to go off during certain things during Twitch streams. So like if someone subs, they'll flash. If someone, I have it set up for different things, bits,
sure,
all that. They change colors, they flash, and we're talking on Skype, and I don't have, I have OBS open, and he's doing some stuff. I shut it down because he's struggling. He's like, I'm just gonna take some time and play with it. So I shut it down, go to bed. Next day I come back. I'm here by myself. I'm playing a video game, and all of a sudden the lights start flashing. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And all of a sudden, like, 5 minutes go by, and he's like, I think I fixed your stuff. And I'm like, dude, why are you controlling my lights when nothing is on? He's like, well, it shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, well, it did it. So I wasn't okay with this. But I don't.
You're giving me amazing ideas for the sequel to this thing, man. Yeah, man. I think it'd be great. Get into some paranormal activity stuff. Yeah. Get into some Twitch streaming. Chucky takes over. It's good.
Okay, so let's get into this thing then. So at this point, people that are following along, or if you don't know what's going on, we are taking a couple weeks to do a series of interviews with different podcasters and YouTubers from around the internet. Some people I know, some people I don't know. But basically, what I wanted to know was, what are the 5 things, whether change, bring over, whatever it might be, what 5 things do you want in Breath of the Wild 2? And, so we're going to just start off. And Donnie, give me the first thing that you would love to be in Breath of the Wild 2.
The one that's, I think, most polarizing and probably popular, so I think you'll hear this from multiple people, is I want to play as or with Zelda.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear that one already.
I had imagined you would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's her namesake. Yeah. It's the Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. And particularly with Breath of the Wild, we talked about this when we reviewed the game.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild's rendition of Zelda is such an expert. Like, she's the star of the narrative. It's her story.
Absolutely.
So I've got all kinds of different ideas and theories. The one that I postulated on Nintendo Shack that I don't think many people liked was, so Zelda has a long history of kind of flipping the script on you. Mm-hmm. You start in the light world, you go to the dark world. Mm-hmm. You start as young Link and you go to adult Link. Like they kind of always flip the game on you.
Yeah.
I would love if Breath of the Wild started where you are Link, the Link that you know, the Link that you leveled up. You've got your Master Sword, you've got your 30 hearts, you've got your 3 stamina. You're the man.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens with this Ganon thing, you're taken out.
Nice.
And now you're Zelda. And now you start all over and you redo it all. I was like, not only does that make a lot of sense to me narratively, but that kind of feels Zelda. Like, I could see them doing that to you. I could see them be like, and here's how we write yourself out of it. Not many people like that idea.
I can't say that I don't like it. It intrigues me because it's the first time I've heard it. And I can't say that I hate it because it's a different idea. It's not cookie cutter everything.
Yeah.
But I want to throw a couple things at you because I'm not going to tell you my idea because that's whatever. I've already said it numerous times already, and people that are listening are just like, shut up, Bobby. But anyway, so my curiosity to you would be, one is, I get what you're saying. You want Link to be gone, and you want it to just to be solo Zelda trying to, I guess, save Link per se.
So that's what I'm kind of open to, because I would like that, but I understand that a lot of people wouldn't, and that's not a Zelda game, so maybe they wouldn't go that far. At the very least, I would like it to be a companion game, like The Last of Us, like God of War. It's something that Zelda has done in the past. We've had Fi, we've had Navi. I wouldn't mind it if she ran along with you,
Yeah.
and maybe you could choose to play as each one, but like they were always together, because then hopefully they could build some exposition, some narrative that you could constantly be talking. You could share a story between you two. It would be a journey together,
Yeah.
as opposed to constantly alone. So I'm open to that idea,
Yeah.
but I personally would not mind at all
Yeah.
if they wrote Link off and now it's your turn to it's your turn to repay the favor. Now you're going to go save him as opposed to him coming to save you. I think it'd be great.
Because it's never been that way ever in these games.
And
it's never
in
been
2019 and 2020, like you have to think a lot of people, a lot of people would really get behind something like that.
Here's my thing. I never have an issue if they want to make a female protagonist. I don't want it shoehorned in.
Sure.
I don't want it done for dollars. I want it done because it makes sense to the story and it works. To just push it through just because, hey, this is what people want, or hey, we think we can make more money doing this. I don't like that at all. I like it when it's like, hey, the idea here is this, and this makes sense. Now, you and I and Mark all agreed when we had the last thing where Zelda is the hero of Breath of the Wild. Zelda saves everybody in Breath of the Wild. I'm not going to get into spoilers because I don't want to get people mad at me if you haven't played the game after 2 years. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. But that being said, I like the idea more of, and I did mention this to Mark a little bit last night, where I like it a little bit more if it was a companion thing like Last of Us, where at some sections, maybe you're Link, and then some sections, maybe you're Zelda. Doesn't matter to me which way they go with it, but just the fact of like you said, if they're walking around, because that's the thing with Last of Us, they're constantly talking to each other.
Yes.
So even when you kind of get far away from the other one, they might just be like kind of leading tips and helping a little bit along the lines. I don't know how you do that in Breath of the Wild being open world, but that being said, I would like that because I would like the dialogue between the two.
I personally think, and this might spoil some of my other thoughts, but I think that this could possibly make Breath of the Wild not seem as lonely or as empty. Because a lot of times you're just running through a field in that game.
Yeah.
You're just running across the field and there's nothing. There's like a sheep. Like there's nothing out there. Like having somebody along with you. I think about like Wolf Link.
Yes.
Like with Midna and things like anything like that, I think could go a long way in an open world in that regard. The exposition would be good, but also in these companion games that we see, like it would add a new gameplay element where like if, you get into shrines, or you get into possibly dungeons, which is one of the things on the list. Mm-hmm. You get into these types of things. It opens up some puzzle solving, some combat stuff that is outside of the Zelda norm and can make it feel fresh and be new. So I'd be all for, either one of those things.
You've played the Arkham games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, there was, I believe it was Arkham City, where they actually utilized Batman and Catwoman.
Yep.
And you would go into different Riddler sections and you would work together in order to take down stuff. So it'd be very similar to that. And it
could also open up, I'm not going to go this far, mainly because of the things that Onuma said after the trailer, but I know a lot of people have taken this route. It could open up the potential for co-op, which I'm never going to be like an anti-co-op, because I can, whether the thing that I'm with co-op is I don't ever want it to be forced co-op. But like, let's say the character is a companion, but can be controlled by someone else. That then allows me to bring somebody else to the table. Maybe I could get my wife or my daughter, like, hey, do you want to play as Zelda? And I'll play as Link. I'll carry you the whole time. You just listen to me and you'll play a Zelda game. I'll walk you through it. I think that's, and Nintendo's always trying to attract, new people. I think that could attract new people to Zelda.
I think the thing too is with that, what makes me nervous about co-op games sometimes is you run the risk of it breaking the game.
It does, yeah.
Where there's a section where you have to get through, and either you can't do it at all as a single player, and you have to have someone. That's the instances that it just, I don't like it. You know what I mean?
That's why I didn't want to go that far. That's why I didn't say co-op, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't really like that either.
Yeah. It's almost similar to like what I was saying before. Like, don't force in a woman as the lead just to sell the game. Don't force co-op into the game. Like, everything should feel natural. Because I feel like what Nintendo is up against a little bit here is their ghost, their shadow. They did such an amazing job with Breath of the Wild that they can destroy it. They can destroy where they're going, or they can just make it. They can really flip it and make it amazing. But
do you love Majora's Mask, or do you not like Majora's Mask?
I don't like Majora's Mask.
So we're peas in a pod here, because Majora's Mask is probably my least favorite Zelda game.
Yeah,
and it's honestly it only has to do with one specific thing. But I just want to say it before I say anything bad. I'm infatuated with the art. I have prints for Majora. I've got cases and covers. I think the art Majora might be the best art style, or at least concept art that any Zelda game has. So this Return to Darkness has me super intrigued.
Yeah.
The putting the Zelda game on a timer completely ruined it for me.
And that's how I feel.
Okay, so it takes all the exploration and the whole me wanting to check every nook and cranny, takes it all out of the window, and I constantly feel rushed, and I was like, I hate this game.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. You know, I loved Ocarina of Time. Loved it. You know what I mean? And then I got that, and I was just like, what? No. What the heck? Like, I can't do this level in a particular amount of time. Like, this is driving me crazy. I hated it.
And it's some people's favorite Zelda game.
Absolutely.
You know, so like, I hope they don't go too crazy with a difference like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think they will. They've said that they want it to be open air. It's going to be Breath of the Wild. This is a sequel.
I think so.
You know, it's going to be Breath of the Wild. It's just a little different.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what is your... Well, you know what? I'm not going to... Let's jump into the... Since you already mentioned it, let's jump into the dungeons.
Okay.
And so that's your second one. Will be...
So I wanted to say that I want to see actual dungeons return, like real narrative dungeons. But I want to... I think you're going to get a lot of this too, so I tried to add a little element to it.
Yeah.
Here's what I thought. I want to see actual dungeons return. I want to see them return with themes. And I wouldn't mind it if shrines were themed too. So like in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. Regional dungeons, right? Like think of Ocarina, we had the sages, right? We have the forest temple, the fire temple. I wouldn't mind seeing temples like that come back. Now it could be based on environmental things like that, or it could be based on like certain types of tactics, certain types of weapons. Like maybe this is, you know, an archery temple, like that's the main focus. So all of the shrines around it kind of build up to you unlocking the temple and then using all of those shrine tactics to take down that temple. And maybe you couldn't get that temple until you did all the shrines, or at least a certain amount of the shrines in the region to get there. That's so everybody is always thinking like with Zelda, right? You do the dungeon to get the item to unlock the door. But what if you did the shrines to get the item to unlock the dungeon?
Well, to put a twist, the way that I've felt it should be is because I've agreed that for a while now that like there should have been dungeons in here. I didn't like the champions, you know, the the 4 champion things. I didn't like those
divine beasts.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the divine beasts were that good.
But I won't. Not that it really matters. I liked them. I understand why they're not like. I understand that they are not dungeons. But I did think that they were not like overly complex, but like there was a level of I had to check multiple times to see what I was doing because you had to like flip the thing to fly down, you know, like it combined all. It seemed like the divine beasts were built around the rooms. And I wouldn't even mind if the divine beasts stayed or were replaced or were similar. But I think the dungeon. So one of the things, and the reason why I tried to implement this theme idea into the dungeons, the shrines are too samey. They're too similar. They look the same. They play the same. I feel like after you've done 30 or 40 of them, they all kind of feel the same, right? All of the enemies are the same. So how about let's fluff it up a bit, right? So like, let's say when you're in, you know, the Arctic region, they're all based on ice, right? And like, they're all movement based and everything like that. And when you're in Zora Land, they're all water based, like play with that idea and then expand upon that in one big dungeon.
And my idea was to unlock the dungeons. My idea was I'd like it to still feel, because that was the thing that I loved about Breath of the Wild. It was never hand-holdy. Never was like, hey, you got to do this shrine. You could do whatever shrines you wanted. I would like it to be the same with the dungeons, but the way I would do the unlocks is you just have to get 10 shrine orbs to unlock any shrine. So you could go and you could actually walk into a dungeon that is just balls hard, and you get stomped because you're not prepared to go in there. Or you go into one that's like, this is technically the one. Kind of like when you played Link Between Worlds, where they kind of were like, you can go into any place you want to go. There could be ones that are really hard, or you can kind of go the path that you're supposed to go. That would be kind of the way I would like to see it played out. And that's the one thing I loved about Breath of the Wild was, hey man, you drop, you go, you could get right to the castle and go right against Ganon day one. You know what I mean? So I like that aspect of it, and I don't want to lose that. Because even though I can never do it, there's no way I could do it. To watch these morons and these crazy people, like, literally go in a pair of trunks and run across the field, I'm like, how in the world are they doing this? Like, it just blew my mind. And I loved watching speed runs where these guys are sitting there and they're like, you know, the coolest thing ever was like, they're using the stasis to travel across the map. And I'm like, what?
I mean, I said it when we reviewed it, and it's only become more true with every passing day. The greatest thing about Breath of the Wild is the systems that it has in its world. Yeah. It is the engine that it's built. Yeah. To watch the GIFs and the videos and the speed runs and the Twitch plays, to watch people try to break the game or break aspects of the game, or to go flying across the map on a tree. Yeah. Like, it's weird stuff you can't do in other video games.
So I love it. So yeah, for me, I still want the ability to... I love what you're saying with the dungeons, because I like that aspect too. Like,
I was a little afraid that with this prediction, people might take it as, oh, I don't want to go back to like linear gated Zelda.
But I don't... I feel like you open it up to not be linear gated.
That's what I was trying to do. So like in my mind, you don't need... Let's say a region has 15 shrines. You don't need all of them. Let's say you just need half of them. Yeah. And you won't even know the temple or the dungeon is there until you get the half. Like, you get 7 and all of a sudden the temple appears.
It just opens up. Kind of like the first time you get the first tower, and it's like, boom, and this thing just starts opening up out of the ground. It's like, what is that? You know,
you can do any shrine in any order you want. Yeah. But if you focus on starting to clear the map and to learn the game, or to learn, and I would, in my mind, like, they all kind of build upon itself, right? Yeah. So you think about like every shrine maybe like replicates a gimmick in a room in a dungeon, and then the dungeon appears where you have to show Nintendo that you've mastered these 7 skills to proceed.
Yeah, I'm 110% with you on that. I love the idea, and so okay, what is number 3?
Ooh, so this one is really close to the chest. Now, my original theory for what I wanted Breath of the Wild 2 to be has been completely shot out just with this little trailer and idea, so I can't even go there. But my original idea, by the way, is I wanted to like flood the world and make like a Wind Waker thing. Okay. So keeping along that, I want to go back to the sea, man. I want to go underwater. I want to do water stuff. That's the best way I want to put it. So I don't know how you do it. I don't care if we have a boat. I don't care if it's iron boots. I don't care if it's Zora armor. I want to go underwater. I want to explore labyrinths and caves underwater. I want a water temple. I want to be able to navigate the seas. I want islands. I want more stuff out there. I don't just want to be crossing pieces of the ocean across ice blocks, or throwing a leaf, or knowing that there's, maybe a giant lake has a chest under there. I want it to have meaning. Like, Zelda has a long history of things being at the bottom of the lake. Yeah. And I want to get back to that, man. Let's put something at the bottom of some lakes and let's open that up a bit.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that, where the sea is, where, like you said, you use the ice blocks. The crazy thing is I never thought of that. Never thought of it. I thought to myself, I need to get bigger stamina wheel. Yeah. So I can go off the cliff above and get across the water
fly all the way out there.
And I finally, it took me forever, and I finally got it. And then the minute I go in and I beat the island, the next day I see somebody building blocks across the water, and I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like, why did I not think of this? Like, what is wrong with me? So, but I was happier I did it my way, because then I became just super strong and able to climb mountains and all that stuff.
You think about how cool it is when you get to fly up the waterfall right? You get this armor and you get to do this, but what is it really? But does it matter? Like,
Nothing.
you don't really do it in the game a whole lot.
Nope.
You do it for the Divine Beast, and that's it. And that's like the whole point. It's there.
Yep.
Man, there's a whole world of stuff you can do. Like, think about Ocarina of Time's Zora Domain.
Yeah.
Jumping off the waterfall, finding the bottle at the bottom of the lake, doing the water temple. Like, it could all be connected, and it could be like this big, side arc under the main story. And I mean,
it could, in theory, it could be Aquaman-esque, where the minute you unlock this suit, because I mean, that's the thing. We had all these different armors and suits that we could unlock in this game. You unlock this thing, and maybe it's like you get this badass suit, and then a bubble goes over your head, so you can swim underwater and breathe underwater. And then boom, you just go underwater. And you, like you said, maybe there's a temple underwater that you go to. But the one thing I was gonna say, backing it up a little bit, like where Tingle Island is and all that stuff, like there's islands and stuff out there. It'd be so cool if you could get a ship.
That would be
similar.
A boat would be serious. Wouldn't it be so good?
Yeah, like if they can, because in theory you think they're going to take that map and kind of go a little bit bigger. You would think, right? I can't see them keeping the exact map identical. I mean, I can see it, but I don't think they will. So if that's the case, like I can see them expanding the water areas and going like, here's some islands. Go out there. There's shrines out there. There's all kinds of stuff out there. It'd be really, because that's the one thing I loved about Tingle Island, but I also felt like, man, it's barren out here. There's nothing. I expected to have more Easter eggs other than the name Tingle Island. Like, I was like, this would have been so cool.
Man, if you had like a little rowboat or a little raft, if like you saw Beetle floating by, like, man, it would be really,
awesome.
Really fun.
It would be a lot of fun. Like, it'd be kind of cool to almost as well go like, hey, you can actually get like different, different boats. You can upgrade your boats. Like, it'd be kind of cool just to have like a Red Lion type boat.
Yeah.
Like, people would lose their minds if they could get that.
Oh man, if you could build your own or like skin your own or like yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be super fun, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. And I would even go as far as saying like if they brought back like a fishing lake, where you could actually. I did so much of that in like Twilight Princess, man.
Well, not even that. Like I did it in Breath of the Wild, but it was more or less like swimming through the water and grabbing fish out of the water. But it'd be kind of cool to fish. You know what I mean?
Fishing concepts, like a fishing contest.
Yeah.
Like rankings and stuff. Like bring some of that back. Like, where's my silver scale and stuff? Like that would be
they could
great.
do all kinds of stuff like that. I think it would be kind of interesting. Okay, so that was 3. We're up to 4. What do you got for us?
Okay, so here's the one. This is an interesting one because they kind of go together. I think they're separate ideas, but they also could all basically be, they could be woven together as one idea.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to read them to you. I'll let you decide.
Okay.
I want the return of a more structured narrative.
Okay.
This is based off of our review of the game, where I told you like the story was not my favorite, and the way they delivered the story is probably my least favorite part about it. Mm-hmm. In particular, to expand upon the idea, I want to rebuild Hyrule.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind if the first part of the game was a city builder Fable-esque thing, where you and Zelda are rebuilding these towns and these villages. You're rebuilding the Gerudo. You're rebuilding, Akala. You're rebuilding Hateno. You're rebuilding all these things, and then the big bad. You're like, oh man, we just now discovered that this thing's here. Now we've got to. I wouldn't be upset if when the game started, it wasn't about going to defeat the bad guy.
Yeah.
I get that the presence of Calamity Ganon was constantly like in you constantly saw it your entire way of Breath of the Wild, and we talked about it. One of the upsetting parts about Breath of the Wild was that after you beat the game, it just plopped you right back down to before you beat the game. You couldn't then live in a post Calamity Ganon world. Mm-hmm. I would love to pick up right where we left off, and now you have to rebuild everything. Yeah. And the big bad doesn't enter the picture until things of like a certain level have been reached. Yeah. I want to see Breath of the Wild, the map, full of towns and villages and buildings that matter. You don't just walk in and see a bed or anything. Like buildings that you built and grew. And to take it even a step further than that, like we had Terrytown, like that whole side quest. You think about it, there could be 5 or 6 of those types of side quests that you're doing before you get into like the end game, like with the big bad. But also like you had a house.
Yeah.
Link had a house.
Yeah.
And you upgraded as a part of that thing. I would like to take that a step further and actually let you build your own house, maybe build your own farm, build your own village. Maybe you start raising militia. Just all of that. Yeah. I would love for the map to be more populated. I want to see what the castle looks like in peacetime. And I would like to live in that peacetime for a moment before the wide sweeping darkness and death and everything else comes back and you've got to go save the day.
So, okay, we don't know where the trailer that we saw, we don't know where that lays in things. Let's unpack this, because this is quite a bit of stuff you're throwing.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know if this is all of the ideas or like one big idea.
I think it's a big idea, but we can unpack it a little bit. So to start off with the story and the narrative, I loved the story, loved the narrative, loved the way the thing unfolded. The only thing for me was I just didn't like that there was random memories scattered throughout the world. I would like them to try to kind of change it where it'd be a thing where, let's say hypothetically, I'm going into a new town, and when I walk into that town, it triggers a cutscene, and we get
a tower,
dialogue.
cutscene. You get a dungeon, cutscene.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna get all the cutscenes because they're on the way.
Yes,
maybe you hide 2 or 3 for the people that want to go find extra. Yeah, but the main narrative is on the way. You're gonna get it on the way.
Yeah, I agree, because that was the thing with Breath of the Wild. Spoiler: if you didn't go back out, like if you went in and got the final one in Hyrule Castle, and then you didn't go back out to Impa, you got a totally different ending than if you did do that. So for me, I would like to just be able to go like, hey, maybe there is a couple hidden or whatever, but for ultimately, I would like it to be where, you know, like I said, you hit certain points and then it triggers something, and then you're getting storyline across the way. Because the thing with me is, and like we've all were in agreement that like Zelda was the hero. But if you don't play that game to completion story-wise and unlock all the memories, you don't get that. That's not the ending you get. And that's not the belief structure you walk away with. So when you had all those people that were calling this game sexist and all that stuff, it's because you didn't play the game the proper way.
That's true. You didn't know.
You had no clue what went down. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go further with that because I don't want to spoil stuff for people. But that being said, so for me, yes, I'm in agreement there. Now, what I think, and I also agree that like I want a post-Ganon world. That was devastating to me because all the time I kept saying like, this is what I'm going to get. This is what I'm going to get. I'm going to be able to beat it, and then we're going to run around, and we're going to play, and rebuild maybe, or just whatever it was. Like, you know, maybe there was going to be sub-quests that you could go and finish, and maybe there's others. Because, let's be honest, I don't think there was many people that had all 120 shrines before they went against Ganon. I think a good majority probably had, I would say, maybe anywhere from 80 to 100. But I don't think 120 was a completion that many people had. So I wouldn't mind. I was hoping for that. So I wouldn't mind, like what you're saying is the game kind of ends, and then we pick up maybe 6 months later, and then we start the rebuilding process. I don't know that I want it to be as deep as what you're saying. Maybe the way the object is maybe it is as deep as that way. Maybe it's open world kind of again where like, hey, you want to spend more time in there? Fine. But there's this one thing, this one quest that's at the castle in the bait, whatever. I don't know how they're going to trigger that event.
Sure.
But maybe I'm just like, you know what?
Let me pitch you a concept.
Go ahead.
Do you ever play Fable?
I've never played Fable.
Okay. So in Fable 3, the whole idea is that you have to overthrow the king.
Okay.
And to overthrow the king, you have to visit every village and earn their respect.
Okay.
So in my idea for this idea is that you kind of do this. So like you start the game and you and Zelda together go on a sightseeing tour. You're rebuilding the kingdom of Hyrule, not just raising the castle.
Yeah.
So you go to the Gerudo and they give you 2 or 3 side quests, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
2 or 3 little things that you do, and they're with you. And then you go to the Zoras, and then you do all this. You go to the Rito, you bring everybody back together. Now you've got Hyrule is all back together. It's peaceful time, cutscene. The castle looks gorgeous. The fountains are flowing. Everybody's happy, and something bad happens.
Yeah.
Now it feels a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Because it's not just more dread and dreary because, after the thing you just beat, now you've got to beat something else.
Yeah.
Now you've had something taken away from you. All this work and investment in this relationships, and you got to see the sightseeing tour. You saw all of your old friends. This is Terrytown. Look at the Gorons. Man, we're living in peace. And not anymore.
Yeah.
Now they've taken it away from you.
Yeah.
Now you have something to avenge. I was actually kind of hoping it might actually raise the stakes of the campaign.
Yeah, that makes more sense when you say it like that. Like, to me, that laid out like that way, yeah. Because when the first idea when you were throwing it out there was you rebuild Hyrule. And my thinking was there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to rebuild Hyrule. They want to just kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the game and get back into the whole thing. But I'm
thinking that this entire thing could be a very Great Plateau-like thing.
That's what I was just about to say.
You go to every little village and you do a quest or two and you get a cutscene.
Yeah.
This is the intro of the game, right? So maybe your first 10 hours is spent doing this. Yes. And then the big bad appears, the world sucks, it becomes dark, the Re-Dead take over, and now you've got to go and...
in theory, there's not going to be a Great Plateau this time.
Right.
You're basically just... Because you know what to do.
They assume that you know the map.
I would think so, right? At this point,
there's
a lot of people that put
that is true, and that's what they should do. Yeah. But that is also a tricky assumption.
Yeah,
to just drop somebody in that entire world and be like, figure it out.
Well, to drop them in the entire world. Well, I think they're going to drop them in a section, and you're going to have to unlock.
And another reason why this idea of let's go visit all the places and meet all the people. It'd be a really great reintroduction for people that didn't play the first one.
Because if you think about it, right? If you drop the game in, right, and you go like the map is unlocked to you, and you can do whatever. Like when I played, I come off that plateau, and when I realized that first tower started to unlock the map, that became my goal. Let's go unlock as many towers as I possibly can.
I did all that first.
Yeah, I did all the towers first.
Side, I don't want to interrupt you, but just to say this, because everybody listening to the show may not listen to Nintendo Shack.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard, my son is 3 Divine Beasts on his way through beating this game. He's only 8.
Oh my god.
He only has like 3 towers unlocked. He's doing this game the majority of the way without any map. He's not looking at the map at all. He knows it all by memory.
Wow.
I keep telling him to do to the towers, and he's just like, nah. It's just like it's not even an interest to him.
Yeah,
he's
like, whatever, Dad.
Whatever.
Shut up,
old guy.
Yeah. You need the map. I don't. Like, whatever.
But he knows where everything is.
That's pretty crazy.
He could just walk to it. It's insane.
That's nuts. So for me, I look at it and I go like, okay, so you come in, the map's unlocked. How do you pull that back? Because in theory, that's something you're going to want again. You're not going to want to have an open world where people can just the map. I mean, maybe they are. Who knows? But in theory, you think that. So I wonder if it is like that. It is opened up. And part of me just thinks the Dark World comes in. And that whole...
That's the big trend, the big narrative right now. Yeah. After seeing that trailer, is everybody thinks there's an underworld, especially with that whole temple picture that we saw with the door.
Yeah.
Now everybody's thinking that the Breath of the Wild we know is the overworld. Yeah. And now you just creep off into the underworld through these different doors to the world. I mean, it makes sense. It's a good bet.
It makes sense, and it is a good bet. So I like what you're saying. I do like that because that was probably my favorite part is rebuilding that town in Breath of the Wild. Now I didn't get to it till I had already beaten all 4 areas. So then it was just a matter of getting the people to go to the town to add their flavor to the town. Because I didn't realize till I beat them all that, like, oh crap, this thing, I was actually in the town already. I could have done something to send the person over. I didn't realize it. So, but as much as I love rebuilding that, yeah, it would be awesome to just go like, hey, you're going to rebuild maybe 1 or 2 little towns, and then in the process, as you're rebuilding, it's adding stuff to the castle and rebuilding the castle because you go over, you help them fix this town, and they go, hey, we're going to send our best carpenters over now to go do your castle. So in theory, you're rebuilding towns, they're rebuilding your castle.
Yep. And at the end, you all have this big celebration. Everybody's together. You're like, oh, it's so great. Here comes Ganondorf.
I love that.
He's back.
I like that.
And it's all about to go to hell. Yeah. And you're about to be real upset. And that's a great way to reintroduce everybody to not only the first game and all the characters involved, but it's also like a great way to like establish, that's what I was saying, like some peace and some happiness. Like you can't just have a heel beating up on everybody all the time, right? You got to have the balance. And I don't think we ever really had the balance in the first game. So in the second game, I would love to just, in that classic heel move, let's set up the babyface look so beautiful and pristine. It's so good. And then just crush it all. Ooh, that's the way that let's build heat, man. Like, let's build real heat. Let's make you
people
really
don't know what you're talking
want
about right
to
now. I got you, but people are just like, what are these words he's using?
Because one of the things that I don't want to say that I didn't like it. Honestly, I don't think I even cared. I don't think it really mattered to me. But one of the I think a detraction from the first game is that you didn't really care about Calamity Ganon. Yeah. He's just the dude took over the castle. He's flying around, and you got to go beat him one day. Yeah. Let's make the heel really bad. Let's make you hate him. You know, like I was actually talking about this in our Discord this past week. One of the things I love about Ganondorf, because we had a few folks asking us like, why should we care about this guy? Dude, in Ocarina, he was at the castle. He kneeled before the king. It wasn't just a power takeover. It was a political takeover. Yeah. I would love for some stuff like that. Like, let's get deep with it. You know, I mean, would love that. Would be amazing. You know,
maybe that's part of the flashback memories is pre Breath of the Wild, where you see him basically, like you said, kneeling before the king and doing all that stuff, and then maybe that's the tale. Because in my theory, in my mindset is, by the time we kick this game off, you would have Zelda trying to fill in the gaps for Link so he can remember more. And maybe that's part of the memories that she's throwing at him. Like, remember who Ganon is. Like, this is really who the guy is.
He's dangerous. Like, more so than just power. He's not just, big sword guy. Like, he's dangerous. He gets people, to believe in him. Like, he's a dictator. Like, that type of stuff. Yeah. Oh, man, I'd fall in love with something like that so much. Because that's a true villain. Yeah. A true villain isn't just bad because he's strong. Like, a true villain has, like, evil tendencies. It's to his core. And I would love for something like that. The series could use a lot more of that. And that type of story just writes itself. It's easy.
Yeah. I think what has me a little excited, I'm jumping ahead of myself because we could have probably talked about this after your next one, but I think what has me a little excited about this one is the idea of this becomes a franchise that we get 3 or 4 or 5 games out of, and they just keep building off of this. I don't want to say they build off the original engine, but like it
becomes like a legacy, like a saga.
Yes.
Like, here is a volume, of Zelda games. This is Zelda World that spans the Zelda MCU. Yeah. It spans 5 or 6 entries. Yeah. That's incredible stuff. I haven't thought about that. I don't think they'll do that just because they don't have any precedent for it. But God, I would love it.
Like, if you're a fan of DC, right? I'm a fan of DC. This is Hyrule 1. And then you got, like, Wind Waker's Hyrule 2, like that type of stuff. Like, but this would be kind of cool to be like, this is a expanded story, takes place in this time. This is where it is. Boom. Like, that would be
the Breath of the Wild trilogy would be amazing.
That would be if
they instill like let's say Ganondorf comes back and like you slay him, but then they give you the hint that that's not everything. That maybe he was at the beck and call of a new villain, and like this entire thing just sets up the next. I mean, that's what we live for. That's great.
That would be awesome. Okay, your final.
This one is not nearly as deep because I thought that last one you might count as 3. So I just threw in more enemies, more varied enemies, more types of enemies. And I would prefer if I think this is actually pretty low hanging fruit. Not only do I want more enemies, but I want different. What's the best way of saying this? Like, different like combat skills requirements.
Okay.
Like let's. There's a part in Breath of the Wild where you get through where everything gets real samey.
Yeah.
But Coblin, Lizalfos, like, come on, it's the same.
Yeah.
Let's bring back some Poes. Let's bring back some Redead. Let's make them all do different things. Maybe some of them shoot you from afar. Maybe some of them, like, can freeze you. Like, let's make combat a little bit more varied so it's not all, like, slash your way through. Like,
the only henchman, only bad guy that you had to think before going battling. 2 Guardians before you figured out what to do.
Yep.
And Lionels.
Yep.
Because Lionels, it didn't matter how good you got at him. In a second, that battle could turn and he could wipe you out.
Some of them can really do some serious damage.
Yeah. So
like in my idea, taking this maybe even back to my dungeon shrine idea, it would be cool if you even themed these. Maybe you had certain kinds that were exclusive to certain regions. Yeah. So as you walked the world, it felt different.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I think. We just replayed this, by the way. Shaq, a few months ago, we did this whole
replaying, me and Toby. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So we did this whole Return to Hyrule thing where we all started playing it back together. So I've beaten this game twice now.
Okay.
And on the second run through, one thing that definitely like stuck out to me is like, dude, I am tired of fighting with goblins. They're all over the place. They're the same thing and they're everywhere. Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense because in the world, nothing is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like no one race or gender or people are everywhere.
Yeah.
But the goblins are literally everywhere. Yeah. They're on every piece of the earth.
Yep.
So I wouldn't mind if you split that up a bit. And let's maybe make, this type of villain or these 3 types of villain exclusive to the northeast portion of the map. Yeah. And these dudes just over here. And then you sprinkle a Lionel and a Hinox and some mini bosses on top of that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it starts to feel a little bit more refreshed, not so samey.
I'm with you completely because in my second playthrough, I'm actually running from the goblins. I don't want to fight them.
You gotta get the Majora's Mask. You just walk by them.
Yeah, just walk. That's true too. I got. Do I have? No, I don't have it yet.
That makes all the difference. Like that was the first thing I did on my return. The first thing that I grabbed, I just hopped off the tower. I ran straight and got the Majora's Mask, and it made a world of difference.
I'm gonna do that
because now I'm like, I don't have to be bothered by these people anymore. I can just walk freely.
Yeah. And then if I can get a couple of I liked having like the Lionel mask, but them things, man. Even I still got nervous walking up to them because they would like 1 minute they're like okay, and then next thing you know,
look at
like
you and get that exclamation mark, and you'd be like, "Is he about to hit me?"
Yeah, and the next thing you know, like or like you could be a distance away, and I'm like, I'm safe, and then all of a sudden your arrows are raining in on you. You're like, whoa, man, what are you doing? I'm not even because I did read at one point like if you don't have a weapon, he'll leave you alone, and that's true at some times, but some of them don't want to hear that nonsense.
I've played this game for 300 hours. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like if you don't have a weapon drawn, you could literally walk up to them and buy some of them. There were some that I tried that with and they attacked me, but there was, I guess, the lesser ones that would just hammer me, or wouldn't hammer me, wouldn't touch me or anything. So I don't know. Maybe the color of them depended on it, because I know the colors also were the strength of them too. Like, certain ones were super strong.
Did you ever slay the golden?
No, because I'm not playing that stupid thing.
I never did that.
You know what? Let me tell you something. That mode is nonsense. Like, I realized this is how long I played that game for, right? I was like, I'm going to do this. I love Zelda. I love Breath of the Wild. I'm going to do this. I come down, talk to the old man, go down the side of the mountain, right along by the Temple of Time. Go. It isn't a red one. It's a blue one or whatever. I pick up a branch because that's all I got. I hit him once. Hit him twice. He flips over the railing. By the time I go to get him, his health is all back. And I'm like, so what I have to do is I have to not hit them so they fly away from me because I'm not quick enough to get to them. And I got this stupid branch and the thing breaks after. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not. I started to think about it. I'm like, do I want to fight Lionels for 40 minutes? No. So
dude, a lot of people, by the way, touching on that, a lot of people I think are going to want the weapon system to go away, and I don't. I love it. I think now that I've played it, like I've really gotten used to it, and I'm like, it makes the game, it adds a level of tension to the combat that I think is a good thing and is worth preserving.
Well, I feel like, I'm going to disagree a little bit. I feel like the beginning, it's terrible. And then you hit that middle, that sweet spot, and
that
it's like
hump,
more
and you get over the hump.
Yeah, it's like also.
I think they could lessen a bit. I think early on, I think they could make the durability of all weapons last a little more.
Yeah.
But I still like the idea of, man, you're in combat.
Yeah.
You're going to town on these bokoblins, and all of a sudden, your branch breaks.
Yeah.
Now what do you do?
Well,
I like that.
And the only way that I would be on board with this is, man, don't give me this nonsense that the Master Sword loses power. Like, no, it's the Master Sword, man. Don't give me this BS. That drove me up the wall.
I wouldn't mind, and I would agree that I wouldn't mind having an ability to either like claim or put a spell or something on certain weapons so you can always keep a loadout.
Yeah.
Like later in the game.
Yeah.
Not like in game, but like later in the game. You get to a point where they're all the same. So let you just use the swords you want and quit worrying about it.
Yeah.
But like the weapons that should break, wooden swords, branches,
yeah.
like that stuff should break. But once you start getting into like, this is the Hylian sword, like it's steel.
Yeah.
Who's breaking this?
And not only that, like when I get into like the ancient armors or weapons and stuff, like I got an ancient shield that I should be able to like damage a guardian with, and I have this glowing blue blade that's apparently like tech from the future and stuff. Why is it breaking?
It's the stuff that built the divine beast, but you can't use it more than 8 times. Now, you're spot on. I think that'll be something as we learn more about this game. I think that'll be something that people start to make a headline out of. I think once they confirm, because I think they're going to confirm it, by the way. I don't think they're going to change it. They're going to leave it the same way. Yeah. When they confirm that, I'm imagining every video game blog across the internet is going to be like, well, your swords are still going to break. You should be upset now.
Yeah, I can see all these idiots screaming off the top of their lungs. It's like, it's not that big a deal. Like, as long as they fine-tune that mechanic, I'm with you. I'm okay with that. I don't like... If I have a rusty sword, I'm expecting it to break.
Yeah.
But man, if I have a good sword, like, no. Like, dude, I got this badass like Lionel sword, and the thing breaks.
And actually, to take this a step further, and this would actually be very Breath of the Wild, or they give you the ability to repair things.
Yes.
I mean, that would just fix it. If you could visit a blacksmith and your sword is back to normal.
Even when you took down a divine beast and you got that special weapon from them, they broke. Like, nah, man. Like, I got the Ritu bow, and I was like, oh, this thing is awesome. Then it breaks on me. I'm like, I'm not going back and getting it fixed. I care less. I got a bunch of bow and arrows. I just use one of these idiot things. So yeah,
I think that would be a great quality of life improvement, man.
Yeah,
like, just let you repair stuff. You can carry broken weapons, and you just go get them fixed.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I'm fine with that.
I would be good with that. Okay, last thing before we wrap it up here. I asked Mark this. I'm kind of curious. When does this game get released in your mind?
Ooh, I've said this a bunch.
Yeah, I want realistic, though. I don't want what you want.
No, I've said this a bunch.
Yeah.
No, I am very realistic. So I think that this game comes out right now in my mind. I'm going to try to rephrase this because when I first said it, I think people may have taken it wrong. I think Breath of the Wild 2 is Nintendo's answer to next-gen hardware.
Okay.
Now, here's what that means.
Now, when you say next-gen, explain what you mean by next-gen.
Project Scarlet, PlayStation 5.
Okay. But
when they start releasing new hardware and new games and they start showing how amazing no load times and everything are, Nintendo has to have something, and it can't be a Switch Pro tablet that, does 1080p. Like, that's going to look bad. Mm-hmm. I think Nintendo's answer to that in the marketplace is, yeah, you can go spend $600 or $500 in these new consoles. We've got Breath of the Wild over here, and it's, the sequel to one of the greatest games of all time. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that it has to launch fall 2020. Yeah. In my mind, here's how I think I see this going. I think at next year's E3, at E3 2020, right? Mm-hmm. I always get my years mixed up. So E3 2020, they announced that this game releases March 3rd, 2021.
Okay.
And they build up, so I'm thinking, a year and a half from now? Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is Monolith Soft is on it. They have been building this game for a long time. They've been hiring staff members for a long time. They're a bigger studio than most people think.
Yeah.
They in this gen especially, like, this isn't the Monolith Soft from Wii U. This is a whole different business.
Yeah.
They're not rebuilding an engine. They're just making a new story. They're using the same engine. They're crafting new stuff for sure. They're going to make it their own. Don't get me wrong. But they're starting at such a head start. And if you have to think, there are job listings for next-gen Zelda projects at Monolith Soft that date back 2 years ago. So at the very least, you think they have been on it hard for a year. That's a 3-year head time between now and March 2020 or March 2021.
Yeah.
And then possibly it gets delayed off of there, but I don't think so. I think the whole idea, like, they talked about this, right? All of these ideas that they have for this game were supposed to be DLC.
Yeah.
Which means that they were probably already being prototyped in Project On. They probably had this vision that Breath of the Wild would get a DLC every year, I imagine. That's probably what they were taking. Well, this is a Zelda game as a service.
Because if you listen to what Furukawa said right after he became president, was one of the things he wanted to do was look at utilizing their IP and their games and adding DLC in a serious way. And
DLC makes them a lot of money.
Yeah.
They see that, like Nintendo fans keep buying it in Zelda. So I have to think that a lot of the ideas, whether or not the entire game or not, a lot of the ideas were already being prototyped, already in works, already having art assets created 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now they're building into a new game, and that's a bigger task, but at the same time, this is a company that puts out a mainline Zelda game usually every 4 to 5 years. Yeah. Usually, and they've done it faster.
Yeah.
They have done it faster. They've done it faster in the past. So knowing that Nintendo and Monolith Soft are working on this together, knowing that they have to have an answer for next gen.
Yeah.
They have to. And guess what? It's not. It's not Metroid. Metroid Prime is nowhere close.
No.
It's not even close. Everybody got to let that go. Yeah. They showed that game way too early. Yeah. So Metroid Prime is not next year. I guarantee Breath of the Wild 2 comes out before Metroid Prime does.
We won't get into that one. We won't get into
so
that
I think that's it. In my mind, I'm expecting this game fall 2020, spring 2021 is when I'm expecting this game. And I also don't think it's going to be like a 100-hour game either. That was another thing I thought. But one of the points that I should have made when I said I wanted a more structured narrative, I wouldn't be opposed if this was a shorter game. If the narrative was 30 hours, I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah.
Completely fine with that.
Yeah.
Especially if it has a lot of optional post-game that you could do. Totally fine with that. Not going to hear me be upset at all. Like, I don't need to 120 shrines.
Yeah.
You could have 60 shrines. That'd be just fine.
Yeah. I too, well, I'm under the belief this is a 2021 game. At best case scenario, 2021. Worst case scenario, 2022. I think 2022 comes in the picture if something major goes wrong and they run into some major... But I'm under the same philosophy. I feel like this started as a big expansion that was in their mind to launch in 2020, and then it got changed. And that change, I don't think they need a huge amount of time to redo it. I mean, ultimately, you think about it, you have the villains already built. You have, you have the
majority of everything.
You have everything done. It's just a matter of putting them in different places.
You're going to put in some new enemies. You're going to change some art. You're right. You're going to redo some things. Yeah. But outside of that, I mean, that was funny because you said you were expecting the map to. So when I first saw the trailer, my initial reaction that I had on stream was that they are about to New Eden or Undead Nightmare Breath of the Wild. Yeah. That was what I thought. I was like, this is Far Cry New Eden. Yeah. This is Red Dead Undead Nightmare. Yeah. Like, they're about to take the world that and they're about to twist it. Yeah. It's going to be the exact same world. You're going to have your bearings. You're going to know exactly where everything is, but not everything is going to be as you think it is.
Let me ask you a question before, because now I got more questions. Let me ask you a question. So when Aonuma came out this week or last week and said that this kind of takes some cues from Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you when you heard that?
Man, I don't like that game. To be honest with you, I think when I first saw that and I saw the headline, I honestly just think that's a developer respecting the merits and the accomplishments of another developer. I didn't take that as taking any specific system or elements out of one game to put in another. Yeah. If anything, I would just say it's probably like a very high level macro attempt at saying, like, do you see how immersive and how like built to the world that game is? Yeah. That's what we want to do. Like, we want Breath of the Wild to feel like you're in the world of Breath of the Wild and you have to play that way. Because that's really what Red Dead 2 is. Like, whether you like it or not, Red Dead 2 does what it does, and it doesn't falter from that. And you either like it or you don't. Yeah. So I was kind of taking it that way. I have no idea. Like, maybe he just meant like those horse physics in Red Dead 2 were fantastic, and we should have those because the horse physics in Breath of the Wild suck.
They're bad. They're so bad. Okay, so, you can ride through and not hit a tree. Okay.
There are not that many trees to dodge.
No. You can't get down a mountain, that's for sure.
And you can't, like, cross a river. Nope. Like, there's a lot of things you can't do. No. So, I didn't read into it too much. Yeah. To be honest with you, I literally thought of this, like, to give an analogy or an example. This was like Xbox saying, hey, Sony PlayStation, great job on Spider-Man. This was just one developer, like, tipping a cap to, like, look at this great job they did.
Yeah. It's possible, because that's the one thing, like, with Breath of the Wild, I had zero interest to ride a horse. I would prefer to run across the field
I just think
than to get a horse.
It's too limiting.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the horses. I like the horses, but the horses were only like the horses really only added a benefit in certain areas of the map, because so much of the map is either landlocked by rivers or mountains that the horse doesn't provide you any. So when you hit a certain stamina level, it's a hindrance as opposed to a benefit.
Yeah.
And I think everybody probably just dropped it by the end. I don't think anybody stormed Ganon's castle on a horse.
No.
Didn't make much sense, especially when you could fly. You know, it didn't make much sense.
Fly in there. Yeah, you're right.
Honestly, the best thing that I would have to say about the horses, I loved coming across a wild pack of horses. It made the world feel amazing.
Yeah.
You start flying over a field and you see a pack of horses just go running off together. Like, man, that's amazing. Why don't more games do that? This is a great moment.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't want to catch them. Leave them alone. They didn't hurt nobody.
The only one I wanted to catch was the big one. The big one, because it was so cool looking.
On my second playthrough, I got Zelda's horse.
Where's that at?
Is that the big one?
No,
Not sure which one you're talking about.
Oh, Ganon's horse.
Oh, no. So I got Zelda's horse on my second playthrough. I didn't even know it was there in my first playthrough.
I didn't know there was a Zelda horse.
Look it up. You can get Zelda's horse.
Well, I gotta go look at that now. Now you gotta be damn. Now I know what I'm doing. I gotta get off this. We gotta get this call so you can find the Zelda.
I mean, I'm telling you, talking about all this with you just makes me want to play the game again.
Yeah.
And after I just played it for the second time, I was like, all right, I think I'm good. And they just put this trailer in and people start talking about it. I tell you, for 3 days, we talked about whether it's Ganondorf or Twilight Ganondorf. We've been talking about this nonstop, and all it's making me want to do is go play it again.
I'm with you. It definitely makes me wonder exactly what it is. You know, that's the sign of a really good
teaser.
Trailer. Yeah,
it's a good teaser.
Yeah, it just gets you enough to add a whole bunch of speculation and do stuff like it's crazy.
Where do you fall on? I know you got to get out of here, but where do you fall on the whole Hyrule Historia, the timelines, the lore, and all that?
I don't care. I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't know what it means. I don't know. Like I have the book. I have the Hyrule Historia. I've never even opened the thing. Like I got it just because it was cool. Never even opened it. I'm like, I'm not gonna read this stupid thing. And I love Zelda. I love Zelda.
I used to be way into that stuff, really. And I
feel like I feel like people that do that are very much like the people that have the Star Wars timeline down.
That's true.
You guys need a life. No,
I'm just
kidding.
I've actually this is why I wouldn't bring it up. I've really let it go. I think since like Wii U days, because and especially with this game, one of the things I said on Nintendo Shack last week, I don't want this game to be beholden to any of that.
Yeah, you want it to kind of be able to go.
You know, like it's Breath of the Wild was too good to being like, well, that's got to be Twilight Princess. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
I don't care. Yeah. You make it whatever you want to be. You want to put Midna in the middle of that game? Yeah. I don't give a crap. Yeah. Like, you know, like you do whatever you want, because it's like at some point, I don't want them to be writing themselves into a corner where they have to make, you know, kind of like what you were saying. You don't want to have a playable female character just because that's the industry thing and everybody wants to do it. I also don't want them to be making narrative decisions based on some, you know, quasi loosely mythical timeline. I don't care about any of that. I want them to make the story that they want to make.
I talked about it earlier. One of the greatest things that I love that DC does is they have multiple Earths.
Yeah.
And your Batman that you love could be different than my Batman, but they both exist in their own separate timelines, their own separate Earths. And I love it because my dad's Batman existed. My Batman existed. In theory, at the same exact time, but on different Earths. So it was the best way to explain like how characters develop and change and do stuff. And, you know, so for me, I would love to see Nintendo just go, listen, we have multiple timelines, multiple Hyrules, and this is just what it is.
See, and I took it a step further than that on Shaq. I kind of said I think it would be hilarious if Enuma just took a hammer to it and smashed it.
Well, that too.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I would love it so much if he was like, yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, it's just Ganondorf.
Yeah. Well, because the thing of it is for me, I think you start to get confused as to what is this? Which Zelda is this? Which timeline is it? It blurs the lines for everything and just makes
I think it's
it
intimidating.
Very
it's intimidating for new players to try and get into it because you're like, I didn't play the old ones and I don't know what's going on.
And you shouldn't have to. You should be able to experience each one on its own.
The thing that I said on Shaq was that like it's very easy to have a nod to an idea without actually like trying to establish a timeline. Yeah. You know, like this trailer we saw what the internet thinks is Ganondorf. We don't know, but we think it's Ganondorf.
Yeah.
How easy would it be to just put in one line of dialogue to say like, for 1,000 years, he's been trapped by, the magic of Twilight.
Yeah.
Only to awaken now.
Because that's
like, it gives the nod.
I got the
Here's your Easter egg.
Yeah.
But you don't need this whole, like, it's exactly him, and then you don't have to go that far with it. You just give a tip of the cap. That's classy.
I mean, because I got like the Twilight vibe at the start of the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like when that music starts playing, I felt like this is Twilight Princess. I really did feel that. And I think a lot of people felt that. But for me, we don't even know if that's really legitimate a thing. Like, how do you not? How are you so sure that? Like, I believe the corpse is Ganon.
It could have been a 10-second cutscene of you in a cave, and then it's just Breath of the Wild again. You just walk out of the cave.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the thing of it is like, I get that's okay. So I've been talking about this theory that I have for a while now, and my theory is, Breath of the Wild takes a lot of points from the original Zelda. Open world, you can go wherever you want, you do what you want to do, you go any dungeon, all that stuff. There's moments in that game, like the Lionels are back. They've never been in any other Zelda game except for this. There's moments when you're walking up hills and stuff. There's parts that replicate the art book in the original one. They talked about, like, this was the dream of Miyamoto to do something like this. So I felt like Breath of the Wild was very much like Zelda 1. I almost want or think they might take some storyline structure of Zelda 2. Because that ultimately is the first time they had a true sequel. Like, here's Zelda 1, here's Zelda 2, and basically Zelda gets put to sleep, and Link has to go try to wake her up, and the henchmen are trying to kill him to pour his blood on Ganon's bones to bring Ganon back to life. But Ganon, you never fight Ganon, you never play against Ganon until you die, and then it's the return of Ganon. Maybe that's what that cutscene is. Maybe that's you die, and then boom, there's a return of Ganon. We don't know, because it was just a little snippet.
Yeah.
I think it's something different, but it could very well be that, and who knows? But
I was just thinking of your idea, and I was thinking, like, how crazy would it be if taking your original statement of this Breath of the Wild saga of Zelda, this universe, Breath of the Wild universe, if they kind of retold every Zelda story. It's like Breath of the Wild Zelda 1, you go Zelda 2, and then there's like Ocarina, and there's the Wind Waker version, and that'd be amazing.
That would be crazy. That'd be crazy.
See, Donnie, now we're working ourselves into a shoot. Exactly. Now we're getting too excited.
Now we're getting gotta stop. Donnie, thank you so much for this. This was an absolute pleasure. Real quickly before we leave, please let everybody know, where can they find you? What do you do on the internet? Like, all that stuff.
Sure. You can find me everywhere. You can friend me on Switch and Xbox and PlayStation, and find me on Twitter at PlayinNintendo, as dubbed by your co-host, Sean Capri. Ain't no G's in Playin' Nintendo. I'm a part of the PSVG podcast network, which you can find us at PSVG, where we release too many podcasts, literally just too many. We've got a podcast for everything. My personal podcast, and the reason I'm here on Bobby's show, is the Nintendo Shack. And you can follow us on Twitter at ShackLife. Yes. And if you're not a part of that Shack Life, you should be.
This is true. This is very true. I'm going to have ex-Shack Life alum on tomorrow. Jason Lacey. Jason Lacey will be in to do his 5 things that he wants from Breath of the Wild. So a little tease for those that are listening right now.
Nice.
You can follow me, Instagram, Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus, or just head over to nintendoguru.com. That is all. Peace out, Preston.